Hello guys, welcome to Expertizer Academy. Today we're going to go into Civil 3D and we're going to create something called sample lines. So what is sample lines and why do we need them and how to use them? So that's what we're going to see today. It's going to be a quick short version of it. So in a nutshell guys, so we have seen a lot of things in all the previous lessons, how to create an alignment, profile, surfaces, corridors and all these items. So sample lines. So now this is actually the next step in extracting information from your actual design elements. So what sample lines do? Sample lines, if you see it under the home tab, you can find these options right up here. Sample lines basically creates a sort of like an section lines, so you can actually let's say if you want to get a section out of your specific objects, because there might be multiple objects that might sit on top of each other. So if you want to get a section of selected objects at this particular line, then you can create a sample line at this section, and then however long you want it, how deep you want it, and then you can get a section out of it. So sample lines are pretty useful and pretty handy tools. So let's go and create them. So first thing is, when you try to create a sample lines, it's going to give you an option that says select an alignment or press enter to get the list. So if you can actually go and pick it from here, which is nice. And if in case if you're not able to find them, first thing is you check your selection cycle to make sure that it is turned on. If it is turned on, when you try to keep your mouse in middle of your corridor, you should get a little marker. When you click on it, it gives a pop-up, and then you can click your alignment. So that is one option. Or you can press escape and then you can press enter. So that actually brings up the list and shows list of all the alignments. From here you can pick the alignment that you're going to use it. And remember, if you don't name your alignment with the meaningful names, then it's going to be pretty hard as well. So that's why I always say, guys, just have a put a name in there and write some description in there so you understand what these alignment is. So how I use alignments is generally, let's say for an example, when we use it for a road project, the road project might actually span across, let's say from 0 to 10 kilometers. So now we are not going to use one single alignment for this entire length. There will be multiple alignment strings that might be using it. So now each of those strings I will actually specify, let's say this is M1 road project alignment, and then the station range might be from 46 to 638. And then I will also mention, let's say in the description, what kilometer range they are in. So that's much easier for me to pick it up just by looking at the names. So anyway, so click OK. So we have picked the alignment. So now, okay, so looks like it doesn't do that. Okay, so here we go. So then we got the dialog box, so where you can type in a name for the sample lines, and the sample lines is not as same as the profiles and alignments, which has got more uses. Sample lines are predominantly you use it for sections. So I'm just going to give it a name. So this is going to be M1 road as well. I can say this is M1 road project. And then the sample line style, similar to any other object within Civil 3D, you can go into the object style and you can change the object style as well. So you can click on the drop down here, you can copy the current selection. If it's a default one, do not edit the default one, or if you want to edit your style, just edit it. And then in the display option, you can actually change the color for the plan view as well as the model view as well. And then same with the label style. So the sample lines comes with a certain set of labels, which you can go and change it, and you can add whatever you want with that. And another important thing is, guys, sometimes people may not want to print the sample lines when they're actually printing on an A3 sheet, the plan view. In that case, what you could actually do is both the sample line style as well as this one. So when you're actually editing these styles, you see under the display tab, you can actually make them invisible, or you can see which layer they are using, and you can actually set those layers to non-plot layers. So that way it's not going to get printed. The same way, when you go to your label styles for the sample lines, you can actually go into the general tab, and you can see which layer we are using here, and then you can actually make these layers non-plottable. So that way these things not going to get printed on the screen. All right, guys, just a little tip there. And so yeah, once we are happy with that, now we can actually choose what objects you're going to add it to your sample line data source, and we can change it later on as well. So no rush, so you can choose which one you want to have and then click OK. And now we got few options here. So one is you can actually drag your mouse over, and then you can click on the screen, and then it lets you create sample lines on those specific sections. And it asks for a left swath width and then right swath width. So this is basically from the center line how far you want to have the sample line on the left side and right side. So I'm just going to keep it 15 15 on both sides, and you can see the sample lines here. Similarly, you can go and add sample lines manually wherever you want it. So it's simple as that. Or another option which I would suggest is if you go to your sample lines flyout toolbar, and if you click on this drop down right up here, it gives you few options where you can actually use them to create the sample lines. One is by range of stations. So that is like every one of those stations that you have your alignment, and this is based on your alignment intervals that you set for your stations. And based on that, you can actually create sample lines on those stations. Another one is at station is what the default option is, where you can have to click manually wherever you want the sample lines. And then from corridor stations, the corridor has got the frequencies as well, so you can use that to create the sample lines. And pick point on the screen, so that's, you can just pick any point on the screen and it creates a sample line. And select existing polylines. If you got a polyline, you can select the polyline, and then you can set the interval and it creates the sample lines along the polyline. If you have an alignment, I don't think so there is a need for a polyline to use it. So generally I would go for an option if it's a corridor by range of stations, which is much more logical. Click OK. And so now from the start alignment, by default it chooses the start of that alignment that you have picked and the end of the alignment. If you want to have some specific start and end values, you can choose them as well. And left and right swath width, if you want to choose a different value for one side and different value for another side, you can more than happy to do that. And use sample line increments, yes, we can just add a value in there. And then along the tangents, that's basically on the straights, what is the interval that you want to have. And along the curves, that's on the curves, what intervals that you want to have. Along the spirals, that's actually the points where actually, you know, straights and curves join. And then at range of stations, it's going to be true at start, and all these options are true, false. By horizontal geometry points, so you can choose wherever you want your sample lines, additional sample lines. So guys, once it's all happy, you are happy with these settings, click OK, and then it gets you the sample lines. And then remember, at this point you have to press enter to complete the command, because you're still in the command where it lets you to create additional sample lines if you want to create. Now press enter and completes the command, and then it adds a label in there as well. So this is a sample line, that is, it is created from starting of the chain edge of your selected alignment until the end of the chain edge. Now it also puts a chain edge value right up here as a label as well. If you want it, you can hide those labels. So there is a different option that you can choose, sample line labels, which doesn't have these text in there. Alright guys, so once you're happy with that, then the next stage will be to create a sections, which we will see it in the next lesson. Alright, thanks guys, and if you have any questions, just put it onto the comment section. If you like the videos, just share the channel, and also, you know, subscribe to it. Thank you so much.